So this video, I just wanted to show very briefly that the intake tract on this intercooled supercharger setup is supported fairly well by the 1.5-inch bypass circuit, which is essentially just a heavy-duty GM radiator hose, if memory serves, but it's in the parts list. And at the other end, by the snorkel going into the supercharger. It is not touching anything over here. I take that back. It may be resting on slightly, very lightly, on the heater hose that runs, there we go, that runs underneath the snorkel here. That's an easy matter. You just loosen this T-bolt clamp, rotate this 45-degree elbow up a little bit, and it'll lift the hose off of the heater hose. Probably a better solution that I may adopt is to move the inline valve from over there so that there's just an L-shaped hose over here, because it's the fitting is what's lifting it up, I think, the inline ball valve, and put the ball valve at the heater's outlet. It doesn't make any difference to the functioning of a heater. So long as it doesn't have hot water circulating through it, it isn't going to heat excessively. So at any rate, you can see that this tract, which I'm wiggling, there we go, which I'm wiggling, is very well supported. It is not contacting the heater box back here. It is not contacting the valve cover, so there's no conduction of heat, which we don't, conduction of heat, which we don't want between the silicone and the metal here, or the silicone and the metal back here, in the winter anyway. And it's not touching anything over here. Now underneath, the air cleaner is under the fender where it gets cool air piped up inside the fender to it from behind the grill. If you are on a really rough road, if you listen, it could be that the air cleaner will vibrate against the underside of the fender here. So more than likely what I will do is add a little L bracket, spend up an aluminum L bracket, fasten it to one of the screws on the pedal box, and add an additional nut on one of these T-bar clamps, 2.5-inch T-bar clamps on the blow-off pipe that starts this is the Mini Cooper vacuum actuated bypass valve. So that would hold this very, very firmly. This, by the way, is an idle air control valve for the forthcoming EFI setup, but it isn't used right now. So at any rate, there are ample places here to attach an L bracket or what you need, but it isn't really necessary. It would be an awfully rough road. This would have to move almost 3/4 of an inch before it would start contacting the bottom of the fender. But if you were driving down a rough road and you heard a rat-a-tat-tat on the fender, you'd know what it was. It would be this large K&N air filter, which extends under the fender to about here. It's a large cylindrical can filter shown in some other pictures. So anyway, that is the intake tract running right along there into the blower. The last thing I'll show you in this video is these are the vacuum lines. There's a vacuum fitting on the phenolic spacer between the carburetor and the manifold, and I've just run a little bit larger hose, I think it's 1/4 inch, a little brass adapter, and then the vacuum line is routed behind the PCV valve. And then there's a brass fitting. This goes off to the boost gauge. This comes straight back, as you can see, to the diaphragm on the Mini Cooper, 2002 Mini Cooper S bypass valve. And this line leading forward and just snuggling underneath the bypass circuit and the carburetor's dash pot. And coming out right here is for the rising rate fuel regulator, which will replace this old Filter King. This is just a low pressure regulator and filter, and that's it. It doesn't have a rising rate function. So this vacuum hose, of course, will feed the rising rate feature on whatever fuel pressure regulator you use. That's it for now.